Hello and welcome back to the Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1. I'm once again Joshua Jones, joined by JJ Braber and Avery Schaefer. And there is a big event coming up for many of the track athletes here at the University of Illinois. The Boston Marathon is on Monday. It is considered one of the toughest marathons in the world, if not the toughest on the Abbott circuit, the World Championship circuit that is. And the weather is not looking good, guys. Heading into Monday, there's a 90% chance of thunderstorms, and it's going to be somewhere in the 50-degree mark when they take off, with sunrise at 6:03 a.m. So a pretty ugly start to the race, for sure, weather-wise.
Yeah, that doesn't look like wheel traction is going to be very good out there. So
Yeah, and as Avery alluded to before the break, there are 10 current and former Illini that will be competing in the marathon. The marathon has two divisions, so one for what would be T51 and T52 lower classification track athletes, and then a second division that's significantly larger with your T53 and T54 higher classification players. Some of the people competing from Illinois is alumni Joshua George, current Illini and just up-and-coming phenom Daniel Romachuk, current student Brendan Quinn, Aaron Pike is grad, Joey Gibbs is a current student here, Arian Rossell, Susanna Scaroni, Tatiana McFadden, Jenna Fessmeyer, Katrina Gehard, and Ian Hong, I believe. So a lot of Illini, a lot of women Illini going to compete in this marathon. So what are your thoughts on who's going to win this, Avery?
I gotta go with my pal Gibby.
Joey Gibbs, who's been on the show.
Joey Gibbs?
Yeah, Joey Gibbs been on the show before. Has gone through some injuries recently, so it's a good pick. He's still working with his torn labrum, so it will be interesting with the condition to see how well he does. I think he's going to do well. Daniel Romachuk is actually not the favorite this time. The favorite to win on the men's side
Surprising.
is a Swedish guy whose name is Marcel Hug. I believe it's the same last name. It's spelled like hug, but I think it's Marcel Hug. He is the winner, has the course record he set in 2015 and returns to compete again. On the women's side, Tatiana McFadden is the woman to beat.
Of course.
Oddly enough, last year's marathon had the same type of conditions as this year's marathon does. The rain and whatever, and she said it was the toughest race of her life, but she came out on top, and I think that grit and determination is going to get her on top again in this marathon on Monday.
You can't bet her. Can't bet against her.
You really can't. I mean, Susanna Scaroni has been giving her a good run for her money in a couple of races leading up to this one, so it's really interesting. I was looking at the map earlier. Looks like it's pretty hilly. Starts in the suburbs and then kind of goes through the middle of the city. The wind is. This is something we didn't talk about. The traction is going to be a major problem because of the rain.
Yeah, but it's the wind. I mean, when you push in the wind, like
I mean,
already in a like everyday chair,
yeah,
it's like hard. And so imagine trying to like go uphill and the wind's coming at you in a chair.
That's.
Aren't you down lower though? Wouldn't you be more aerodynamic?
Yeah, but I mean, I still think the wind would still play some kind of factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I still think wind would make a factor into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think the Illini have a huge advantage the way they train because, as we saw today, it gets very windy here.
I mean, you're on the Midwest side, and like they're on the East Coast side. The weather doesn't really change. Yeah,
the weather doesn't change that much, but like being able to practice in the wind.
For sure.
Because the wind is not something that most places can like go to. Like I'm from Atlanta, and I saw 3 or 4 names that I recognized from the Atlanta, Georgia area. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you very rarely get wind because it's so hilly in Georgia that you just don't get wind. So it's kind of cool that they get to train here, and it gives them that extra level. I saw a lot of the trackies there at the beginning of the week, and they were training hard. I mean, they were like obviously not lifting a lot of heavy weights because you don't want to kill yourself
No.
before.
But I know they were on the road a lot this week.
Yeah, so they traveled up there. Everybody made it safe. Tatiana McFadden was with Marcel Hoog this morning at the John Hancock press conference. Said some good things, and then was out and about meeting with people at the marathon, and signing her book earlier today from 12:30 to 2:30 at the AT&T tent. So a lot of Illini out there. It'll be a really good event, and I wish all of the Illini the best of luck. Anything else on the marathon, Avery?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say McFadden Cerrone 1-2.
I like the odds of that happening. And then on the men's side, I think there's no reason Daniel Romachek can't win it. I think this will be one of the last races where he is not a favorite. I think he's going to win this marathon and then become a favorite from here for the next 5 years.
Yes. I did not understand when I looked at it earlier how he could not have been a favorite.
Yeah, he's
Well, I mean, like you said,
Like,
the person who's in front of him has a record time, right?
Yeah, Marcel, who
And so it's kind of hard not to give the favorite to someone who has a record time in the Boston Marathon.
he's from Nutwell, Switzerland.
Is this Daniel's first Boston Marathon?
I do not believe so. I
Okay.
think he's done it in
That's
the
what.
past.
That's what I thought. But I was just double checking.
I know one of his first big wins was the Peachtree Road race in Atlanta last July, and then he won a lot of races in quick succession, and it was kind of his coming out party. Joshua George is also someone that you shouldn't sleep on. Used to be a very, very elite racer, and I would expect him to get back into that form. Krieg Schaubert is 55, but he's from Georgia, still cranking out really fast times. The world rankings, they're actually done by world rankings, so Marcel Hoog is 1. Ernest Van Dyke from Russia. No, that's South Africa. The Republic of South Africa, my bad. Is number 2. And then Daniel Romachek is ranked 3rd in the world right now. Then trailing behind him are 2 Japanese men, Kota Hukanuu and Ryota Yoshida. And then David Ware, the Great Britain, who won the last marathon we talked about, is in 6th there. So the best of luck to the men on that side. We're expecting great things from them. Also, on the women's side, another person to keep out for is Manuela Schar.
Where's she from?
She is from, I believe, Switzerland as well.
Okay.
Tatiana, in the past 4 marathons, I believe her, Tatiana McFadden, and Susanna Scaroni have finished 1, 2, 3 in some different order every single time. So it's a good competition. Tatiana McFadden respects her greatly.
Awesome.
Someone's
got to give Tatiana McFadden a run for her money.
Yeah, so.
Or a roll, as it were.
Yeah, for real money, because I think we talked about this at the beginning of the year, but with Ryan Wilson and Zaid, was talking about the difference in money for marathon athletes. And the wheelchair division, and the Boston Marathon is the highest winning marathon.
Do you know what it is?
I think it's 15.
It's
or no,
30-ish?
I think it's $30,000.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
that,
30.
That has since been corrected, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to work on that, and
Yes.
I encourage you guys to go back and listen to the show when I think it was back in August, so maybe we don't have a recording of it, but it was really interesting to see the disparity in how the Abbott World Marathon Organization is trying to help overcome that and make it more even. So that is really cool. We're going to take another break here on the Rolling Illini, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more Boston Marathon, and then some changes in the college division upcoming in wheelchair basketball.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this break. I'm Joshua Joins, back here on the Rolling Illini on WPGU 107.1. We were talking a little bit about the marathon. Gabe, did you find out what the top?
Yeah, it was $30,000.
So it is $30,000 for the winner. That's a lot of money. And then there's also, of course, bonuses.
Yeah.
For people who
Have contracts with.
well, not just contracts, but like if you break a course record. Which
Yeah.
I would be highly shocked if the course record was beaten just because of the weather conditions
Yes.
tomorrow. So yeah, so that'll be something we'll look out for that we'll talk about next week. But Gabe, how about you talk about some of the maybe changes, but also additions coming to the college division in the next couple of years? Because
yeah.
it is expanding.
Yeah, so in Wheelchair Basketball League, we just got another official team that will be an officially sanctioned college team, the Arizona Wildcats. So the Division I college out in Arizona.
The University of Arizona in Tucson.
Yeah, so they just added their team. They were originally a Division I team, very good in their division.
Yeah, very successful.
Yeah, like
team.
top 5 every year.
Yeah.
So very successful, but the difference was that they've always wanted to come over, but they needed people to actually be in school. And
also in the past they didn't want to follow recruiting rules and stuff. So they decided that D1 was best for them.
And so now they fired their original coach and they have a new guy in, which I apologize, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
But he's coming in and they're going to be officially a part of the division next year, which is really awesome for the division. We love bringing in, no matter who it is, teams, just because, you know, going from 9, right, currently 9.
Yeah, currently 9.
To 10 is just, you get more games, different people.
There's no way that next year the bracket, the 8 and 9 seed will play each other to play in game.
Yeah.
Then play the winner of that will play the number 1 seed to go play the number 9 seed again. Like that was a weird bracket. I think that was necessary to have 9.
Now we'll finally have
10.
10 to
one
make
will
it.
play the 10 seed,
Yep.
2 will play. Yeah,
so that'll make it nice for our rankings.
But I think a bigger deal than the men's team is the fact that they will also have a women's team, which will be officially the 5th women's team.
Well, they're not official yet, though.
They're not official yet?
No, they're not official yet because
Do you know why?
I heard because of grades and they have to make sure the women that are already there are eligible to be in college.
Okay.
So I know some of the women that are there are older, like way older.
Like legitimately 60.
Yeah, they're like.
Yeah.
They're legitimately like 60.
Yeah, like no joke. But
Wow.
So they have to like investigate whether or not they're gonna be eligible. Then I know Eastern Washington University is coming very close to completing a program.
Yeah. The thing about Eastern Washington, and this kind of goes with the Boston Marathon, is that Spokane, Washington program that's kind of trying to jumpstart it is really known for their track program.
Mm-hmm.
So it would not shock me if a track program
Was
came
started
out
first.
of Eastern Washington before a basketball program.
Yeah, and then I know we were just talking about it, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mo.
Yeah, Morgan Wood,
Yep,
Team
from-
USA member and
from
recent
UTA.
UTA grad.
Yeah. She is gonna try to jumpstart that after she graduates.
She's already there.
Yeah.
I saw a post on Facebook, and it's by the organization that runs their AAU juniors program.
That's awesome.
They have 12 sports chairs already there that are Tennessee orange, which as a Georgia fan, it's not the prettiest color in the world.
But it's really cool to see her taking initiative and trying to create another college.
Yeah, there's a lot of Southern programs that are thinking about starting a team.
Yeah, Florida.
There's some Florida talk. There's Clemson has talked
Yeah.
about getting one for years. There's already Alabama and Auburn, and if you want to keep it in the SEC, I guess you can also count Missouri as a Southern school.
Yeah.
It's not really. So the South, that kind of brings up an interesting question. Do you think that's too many teams in the South? Because
I feel like it's South heavy.
yeah, Southeast heavy in particular.
Yes.
Because I mean UTA is also technically the South, but like that's a lot of schools in the Southeast.
Yeah, I mean it makes it.
Why is that?
I think just because you see those schools, they have more money.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Alabama and Auburn were jump-started by the fact. Well, Alabama in particular was jump-started by the Lakeshore Foundation, which is a major foundation down there that is also a Paralympic training facility. And then Auburn was like, well, if Alabama has it, we need to have it too. It's kind of that rivalry thing. So that's how that started. And then Clemson has been working with the juniors program
for a long time now.
I've also heard rumblings about Michigan working on getting
Michigan
something.
will be a very long time.
Yeah, Michigan is kind of an interesting case. They have a doctoral student there, I believe, who uses a wheelchair due to I think a spinal cord injury, and decided that he wanted to start a program. So there's been rumblings about that. A lot of these are going to be after Gabe and I graduate, 5-6 years down the line.
And which kind of stinks because you're seeing a lot of junior programs going away too, and you need more of those athletes to want to play college because not every kid wants to go past their high school career.
That's kind of the thing. I don't want to be cynical per se, but like, what do you think the maximum number of teams that could like be competitive at the college level would be?
I think,
especially like when you put grades into the thing. So like Tennessee's hard to get into, Clemson's hard to get
Michigan's
into.
gonna be hard to get into.
Michigan's gonna be hard to get into. So like, what's the appropriate number?
I think appropriate number would be 12.
12.
I think
12, 13-ish.
Yeah.
I think you could add a 13th if it was a smaller school that was a little bit easier to get into.
Like a Whitewater or something like that.
Which I don't know, pardon me if I'm wrong about this Eastern Washington, but I think Eastern Washington would be programmed kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
How about Davidson?
Davidson would be really hard
super hard to get into.
Okay.
Davidson's a private school.
Davidson's a private school.
No, I think
yeah.
I think 13 would be a good. I feel like when you start getting more and more, like, we don't have as many athletes as able bodies do.
Yeah.
But
then it starts that whole interesting conversation about should we allow able bodies to play to start with.
Well.
And that's a whole different debate.
Because what the problem is, like, then you have, if you keep letting able bodies in, they're only going to be a 4 or 5 in the classification rate, so that's not going to really do much for you.
Yeah.
Would that entail able-bodied athletes playing as if they were wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, so they would play wheelchair basketball, and their classification would be a 4.5.
Which is the highest one.
Which is the highest classification.
And so that's our problem, is if we let able bodies play, they would only be a 4 or 5, so you'd just be carrying.
Honestly, and we are getting to a whole bunch of different topics here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go, you and Miles and I went to Junior Nationals a couple weeks ago, and this year they implemented a new kind of classification program.
It was last year.
It was last year, so this is the second year, where they classify players as either J1 or J2. So traditional classification, if you're under a 2.5, you're J1. If you're over a 2.5, you're J2. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with some people who know a lot about the sport and are really involved in their junior programs. And I think the problem is that sooner or later, juniors is going to have to go to a real classification system.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the Class 1 is dying. Mm-hmm. Because they don't play on their juniors teams.
No.
And so they quit and they go to other individual sports where there's much more specialized classifications.
Yeah.
And so then the Class 1's a dying breed, and then you can't play those 4 or 5s.
Yep.
So I think you need to find a way to retain the Class 1s in the junior level, and the only way you can do that is by forcing these coaches to play their Class 1s by doing real classifications.
Yeah.
I don't know what your opinion on that is, or like what you would do.
I mean, it comes into play that maybe teams can't make numbers for classification, then you're gonna kind of basically screw over a team that wants to play, but they just can't get the numbers because, I just think if we can get the word out there more about wheelchair basketball, more kids would join, and then that can allow us to do. Because I agree, I think we should do a classification system, because there's Class 1s that sit on the bench that could potentially be really good and move on in the sport, but are just pushed to the side so that you can play the higher classes to win.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about this. The Milwaukee Bucks, who won the juniors division, were playing with 21.5 points when in college division you're allowed to play with 14 points. And part of that is something that we have discussed a little bit, or this goes back to classification. It's J1, J2, but if you have a woman on the court, you get an additional point added. How many points are they allowed to have in juniors? Do you know?
8. So
you're allowed to have 8. So that's all. You can play another J2, or you can play a J2 girl as a J1.
Yep.
And so those are highly advantageous. I know the Atlanta team I'm on have 2 women that play quite a bit, and so they'd be J2s, but they dropped to J1.
Yep. And
that was a conscious effort to incentivize coaches to play the women, because obviously with only 4 women's teams, there needs to be more women that's moving on. Yeah, 5 now, but 4 for the past couple of years. It was kind of to incentivize women to stay in the sport, which is very important. But I think we have to go further than that and go full classification.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
so that's exciting. Maybe Gabe or I will be coaching at one of these schools one of those days. So that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If I had to put it in order, I would bet Eastern Washington would be first.
Yep. Then I'd Tennessee. Then
Florida or Michigan. That's kind of.
I'd go with Florida.
You go with Florida.
Yeah.
Why?
I think they'll be able to make it go faster just because their location and the money they have. Because I know Michigan is very picky on who they give money to out there. So.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. The SEC might just create their own wheelchair basketball league.
It's interesting how the majority of these decisions are economically driven.
Well, it's not really economically driven. It's just, it's more or less does the school want to give money to a program that may or may not take off.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, college is especially college athletics is a business, and you have to decide where you want to lose your money at.
Yeah.
Most schools don't want to do that. We're very fortunate at the U of I that
Yes.
we are very well funded from a variety of different sources, including the university. So it helps that we're one of the oldest ones. So
For sure.
so we've
We're
been
the
around for a
first.
while. So yeah, so that is very exciting. I would like to see. This is sort of my last point on this. I would like to see more West Coast teams.
I mean, I agree with you.
I currently the furthest west team is Arlington, Texas, which isn't even that far west.
I'd like to see like SDSU.
San Diego State has talked
Eastern
about getting a
Washington.
team.
Yeah.
San Diego State is a very, very long shot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard the announcement that they were talking about it, and then I've heard nothing since then.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but
There's always rumblings in the off seasons about a program starting here, a program starting there, and they always start as rec programs, and very few make it to
at a collegiate
to
level.
making it into the NWA collegiate division. So that'll be something to look out for. All right, I don't know if you guys, we're going to move on from that.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but the first ever Paralympics video game was announced today.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah, so the website The Verge had it. It said, Final Fantasy XV's director is making the first ever Paralympic video game. I'm going to just read it directly from the thing. It's called Pegasus Dream. And Hajime Tabata, so it's a Japanese company, left Square Enix, which is a video game company, 5 months ago, citing that he wanted to work on a project to solidify as his next challenge. And he announced that project as this video game. The Pegasus Dream Tour sees players awakening special abilities to take part in an alternate version of the Paralympic Games set in a fictional metropolis called Pegasus City. The project is designed to raise interest in the Paralympic sport ahead of Tokyo 2020 games.
So it's gonna be released for 2020.
Yeah, so it's going to be released very, very soon.
Oh, nice.
Tabata said in a statement, hold on, it's loading. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on. So the Paralympics is in just over 500 days time. And this is the first one that's officially licensed by the International Paralympic Committee. So that's a huge deal. So it's a role-player game, so taking role-playing games to the next level and creating an abundant future with games. The Pegasus Dream Tour, which marks the first time to be released by JP Games, is a completely new sports role-playing game where players participate in the virtual Paralympic Games. Here, players, or the special abilities are called extra powered, and an alternative Paralympic world dynamically rendered in ways that only video games can achieve. They're going to be accessible on various platforms, including smartphones, so it's going to become your app store.
Nice. So is it going to be on like Xbox and PlayStation and stuff?
I think it's going to be more of a PC game. That's what it sounds like. But Tabata,
It's a start.
Yeah, Tabata said this is not just an ordinary video game about sports. JP Games is going to represent fully the wonders that are unique to Paralympic sports, and this brand new role-playing game, a genre we excel in. With this video game, we want to contribute to the future growth of the Paralympic Games, not just as a sporting event, but as entertainment as well, with contents that we hope will have lasting value in the future. That's really cool. I mean, it looked like in the picture, the wheelchair basketball is going to be there. It looks like track. They have they're kind of like in the anime style, and so there's sparks around them, but there's two, it appears, single-legged amputees on blades.
That's awesome.
So the track will be part of it, I'm sure. It's going to launch in 2020, so right before the Paralympic Games. That's super exciting news out of there, so that is awesome. We will be right back here on the Rolling Illini on WPGU 107, so stick with us. Hello and welcome back to the Rolling Illini here on WPGU 107. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. I'm Joshua Joins, joined by Avery Schaefer and Miles Hill. Or sorry, not Miles Hill.
Oh,
Miles
no.
Hill is out this week, so Gabe DeBraber is filling in.
Gosh.
My future
That one
roommate is
hurt.
not.
Sorry,
doing-
Miles, you just got flamed.
No,
No, he did.
I
I'm
got
so
blamed.
sorry. I'm so sorry. That's my future roommate, Gabe DeBraber. I'm so sorry about that. All right, but for those of you that don't know, we're going to move on as Gabe pouts a little bit.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, within Nugent Residential Hall here on campus, there is a special hall called Beckwith. And it is for, well, I'll let Avery explain because Avery lives there.
And it is basically a hall of 26 of us. We all have some sort of physical disability. In my case, it's CP, but
which is cerebral palsy.
that's beside the point. So we all live there, and we all have PAs who help us throughout the day.
Which are personal assistants.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. So
There's a lot of acronyms in the disability community.
yes, we are the king of the acronym. So
For sure.
we have as close to a normal college existence as we possibly can, and it's a really fun place to live. One of the perks of being there is the semi-formal that we have every year in April. Dancing, singing, entertainment.
What type of entertainment?
This year I believe it is a DJ and
I wasn't invited. I'm a great DJ.
a stand-up comic.
Ooh.
Comic?
Do you know which stand-up comic it is by chance?
No.
Where is this held at?
Yeah, where's it held at?
SDRP, one of the rooms up there.
Oh, nice.
Because Nugent Hall is connected to the SDRP, which
Yeah,
is the student
Yes.
something resources.
So does everyone usually go?
This year is going to be, I believe, the highest attendance we've ever had.
Oh, how many are you trying to get?
Because people usually ditch it
Oh.
for other festivities,
Okay.
if I may use that code. But yeah, this year the theme is Vegas. There's always a theme.
That's my favorite. That's my second favorite city. Nashville's my first, but that is a good city.
And when is this being held?
April 27th. So
And
come on by for some fresh food.
at what time?
6:30 to 9:30.
Oh, so anyone is able to come?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Go on and show up to
Avery,
SDRP.
I am very well versed in fraternity life and sorority life, and I know how some of my formals work. You're supposed to bring somebody. Are you?
Oh, are you? Oh, Avery, are you taking somebody?
You had to ask that on air, did you?
If it's not on air, it didn't happen.
Yes. I am.
Can we know who it is?
I am taking someone
Ooh.
who will remain nameless.
Oh.
Completely name it? Can we get like a first name?
Yeah, can we get a first name?
Or can we get a first initial?
Yeah, first initial.
Let's just say that I've met this person on my adventures on Saturday nights.
Well, there you go.
But like, what's the first initial?
N.
N.
All right.
So if anyone wants to...
Ready? Gabe, think of all the N names you can
Natalie, Natalia, Nicole, Nazareth.
One of those is right.
Oh!
Okay, Nicole.
Nicole.
Yes.
Oh, so good. We are so good at this.
we're so good.
Yes.
I would have narrowed it down.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any. What was started with an N?
Well, that's awesome. So if you guys want to go out, you said food, right?
Free
food,
Free
a DJ, comedy show,
It's a great time.
bring a date.
I want to be there. Okay, you want to go?
Am I allowed to bring Josh as my date?
Sure.
Let's go.
We're going to be there.
We're gonna be there.
Josh and Gabe will
So,
be
yeah, so
there.
if you want to see the Rolling Illini squad, we'll all be there. It'll be a great time, and that's exciting.
Last year, I spent the majority of the night with coconuts on my chest for some reason, because the theme was Hawaii.
It feels like something I would do, and also I think that still applies to the Vegas thing.
So
It could, yeah.
You can
Well, I
still
mean,
do that with the
what
Vegas
happens in
thing.
Vegas stays in Vegas.
That is a lie, according to Kevin Hart's new special.
That's true. But that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
right.
So I would like to bring up something, Josh.
Okay, go ahead and bring something up.
You and I have been working on a couple things lately.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about
A
it?
couple new projects, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk
So
about it.
we have a new podcast.
Yep.
Called Views from the 217.
Yes.
Obviously area code is 217, so we just thought it would be kind of cool.
There were a couple of other names that I'm sure we'll talk about, like when the podcast goes into a little bit, that we decided to change away from. But basically the idea, and it kind of fits into the show a little bit, is that we wanted to show that people who live with a disability live a life just like everybody else. So we share stories that are going on in our own life.
We have topics
that can happen to anyone else. In their
we
life.
have topics to talk about, like here, like Boston Marathon, March Madness, whatever. Different topics, and then
it's kind of nice when that in like it's a wider range of topic opportunities than this show is, because like last week we talked about whether or not Old Time Roads was a country song or not. It's definitely is a country song.
Yeah,
there's nothing. There's no question about it. That is a country song.
I haven't changed Dave's mind. We talked about a jaywalking incident, so.
we talk about a bunch of things, but so you guys
episodes will be dropping every Sunday.
Every Sunday night around like 8 p.m. Central Time.
Between 6 and 9.
Yeah. Go and watch that. Views.
Yeah. Views from the 217.
Is it legit Views?
It's Views from the 217.
Okay.
We are now on Spotify.
Okay.
If you want to get it straight from the source, you can go to anchor.fm or get the Anchor app. We're also on Stitcher, Google Podcast. Basically, every place you can get podcast except for Apple Podcasts right now. You can find us there. Views from the 217. Then we're going to parlay this into a YouTube channel that has kind of the same idea. I've kind of spearheaded the whole podcast part, but Gabe has really spearheaded the whole YouTube channel part.
Yeah, and so a video should be dropping, actually. We'll be dropping this Sunday.
It'll be dropping this Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. This Sunday, around the afternoon, between like 2 and 4 p.m. Central Time. But again, this YouTube channel is really kind of like to like just vlog, do challenges, skits, whatever, and again to kind of show that two kids with very different abilities can be funny to watch and make a difference in the YouTube community.
Yeah, so we're very excited about both these opportunities. It's
and that is Productions 215.
Yeah, that's Productions 215. Yeah. The name might change, we'll see.
Yep.
But right now it's Productions 215. Very excited about that first video. It's very much like, so I don't know if you know the dating app Hinge. But it was basically we took questions that you were supposed to answer on your Hinge profile and then answered them for each other. So it was pretty funny. Gabe's been editing it, so it's a lot of fun. So that'll be Productions 215. Go ahead and subscribe. We're going to try to drop 1 or 2 videos every week.
Yeah, in the summer it will start
increasing because we won't have to worry about school or anything.
And then same when we move into our apartment, when we can be together every day.
Yeah.
When I get used to the editing system, so yeah, it'll be fun.
So it's kind of jump starting right now, but we just wanted to let all of our viewers aware of that. So if you want to listen to the podcast, it's Views from the 217. I'd recommend Anchor or Spotify to subscribe.
And then YouTube, Productions 215. Look out for that on Sundays.
I'm also toying with the idea of starting a YouTube channel.
Ooh, what's your YouTube channel going to be like?
With a similar idea. What I'm going to do, it's in the rough right now, but I figured I would use my interest in able-bodied sports to talk about a lot of other issues, using sports to soften the blow a little bit. So those of you who are interested in that, let me know. Follow me at Q&A with A on Instagram and Facebook, Avery Schaefer.
Yeah, that's actually a great name for a YouTube channel.
I like that.
Also on the first podcast, speaking of March Madness, Gabe and I both got our predictions wrong. We both took Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And,
it
was a great game though.
Great game.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Our teammate Colin LaFont, who's been on the show before, asked me if I was going to watch the Braves game instead of watching the finals, and I said, "Are you crazy?"
There's 168 games in a season. 62.
162. And that was like game 3, so like there's 159 more chances to watch the Braves.
Yeah.
Let's say if they don't make the playoffs. So yeah, I will be watching March Madness.
But yeah.
How did your brackets do?
Oh, terrible.
Well, I had Texas Tech in the winning the whole thing, so my bracket did pretty well actually. If they had won, it would have been like in the 99.9 percentile.
I bombed mine by the third day.
Did
So
you pick Duke?
I had Villanova and Michigan in the final.
Oh, wow, that is
blew
a.
up very early.
So
That's unfortunate. My first round was really rough, but it's just fortunate that all the teams that meant something made it way down the line like they were supposed to. So rough first couple days, but then after that it cleared up. So that is Productions 215 on YouTube, Views from the 217 on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and then Avery, where can they find yours?
it's gonna start on Instagram, I'm thinking.
Okay.
And then if it does well, it will go to YouTube.
Alright.
All right, that sounds good.
So
Well, we want to thank you all so much for joining us this week. It's been a fantastic show. Thanks again to Gabe DeBraber for filling in for Miles Hill
Not
this
Miles
week.
Hill. I'm not Miles Hill.
You're not Miles Hill. Miles Hill and I, Avery Schaefer, will be back next week to talk about more things that are going on, a recap of the Boston Marathon, whatever happens with that, and whatever other news breaks in the Paralympic and Illinois Adaptive Athletics community. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you next week here on Rolling Illini on WPGU 107. And Avery says,
for now, keep it rolling.
all right, we'll see y'all next week.